Oh, well, hello there. Well, today we are in Yosemite National Park and we happen to be in Mariposa Grove of the giant sequoia. So we're gonna explore a couple of trails today, and why don't you come along with us?
Fallen Monarch is a really special part of the Mariposa Grove for not only historical reasons, but it also really demonstrates the special qualities that giant sequoias have. When the first European settlers got here in the 1850s or so in tourist parties, they saw this tree and they decided they needed to ride their horses on it. And so they did, and we have pictures of the Mariposa Battalion all lined up on their horses on top of this tree with one very stern looking woman in the corner. Nobody knows who she is, but it's kind of a fun little anomaly. People have also ridden carriages on top of this tree and cars. I have no idea how they got their car on top of the tree, but there have been cars on top of this tree, and we have photographic evidence of that. But also another really cool thing about this tree is that we don't know how long it's been on the ground. I mean, obviously it's fallen, it's not standing anymore. And because we don't know how long it's been on the ground, it tells us two really important things about giant sequoias. The first is we can see that it's lacking the iconic red color. And you guys can step off the trail if you like. It doesn't have that red color that we mostly associate with the giant sequoias, the mature ones anyways. And they get that red color from something called tannic acid, which is also used in the making of red wine. Creates like kind of like a pile on the uphill side of the tree. So when a fire comes through, you now have that accumulated burn center, and that's why you see fire scars on the uphill side, like right there. And now that fire scar has weakened the uphill side of the tree, so finally when it is going to fall down, it falls uphill. Well, this little stream is why they started rerouting the trail in the first place. The trail is so up there.
And probably one of the most iconic stops here in Mariposa Grove is, of course, the Bachelor and the Three Graces.
And back when they were named, a Grace was an unmarried single woman. So it's said that whichever of the Grace's branches touches the Bachelor first gets to marry him. Galen Clark lived back east, and he came out here in the mid-1850s on a tourist party. And he saw these big beautiful trees and he just absolutely fell in love. He thought they were so amazing. And he went back east because he was only here on vacation, and he actually suffered a lung hemorrhage. And so he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him, Galen, you have consumption, tuberculosis, and you only have 6 months to live. And so Galen thought to himself, you know, if I only have 6 months to live, I'm gonna go back to this place where these big beautiful trees are, and I'm gonna spend my time in the mountains and, you know, hopefully get better, or if I don't, at least I'll die in this beautiful place. So he farmed out his 12 or so kids. He was a widower at that point, but he sent his kids off to live with the relatives. He sold everything he had to afford to come back out here, and he came here and he settled actually in Wawona. He established Clark's Rest Stop, where he housed visitors that came through. He gave their animals food, he fed them, he told stories. Galen Clark was an expert botanist. He really had a great sense of the forest, but one of the things Galen Clark was not was a businessman. So Clark's Rest Stop was great, but it didn't really do a lot in the business area. But in 1864, President Lincoln signed the Yosemite Grant. He took time out of his busy schedule trying to get the North and the South to agree, get the Civil War to end, and he signed the Yosemite Grant, which set aside Yosemite Valley and the Mariposa Grove for preservation. And this was the first time in our country, and I think in like most of the world's history, that any land has ever been set aside for this purpose. And so kind of in honor of that Yosemite grant. All the park rangers from, you know, like the Statue of Liberty to here, we all have the pine cones on our belt and on our hat loop. Before they lose their top, have a nice like rounded dome of like branches and whatnot. But when a giant sequoia has a fire scar and that, you know, it keeps happening and happening, that weakens the water circulation to the top. And so eventually, usually in the winter time, the snow will just accumulate, it'll become too heavy, and then the top will fall off.
If you make the trek all the way up to the Grizzly Giant, make sure you take the 50-yard hike down to the California Tunnel. You will not be disappointed.
The Washburn brothers, who owned the Wona Hotel, built that whole complex. It's actually one of the oldest hotels in California. I think it's like the second oldest or something. They tunneled this one out because the Wona tunnel tree was often inaccessible because of snow. So when the tourists came and were like, I want to ride my carriage through the tree, they would say, oh, well, this is it. Even though they were lying. So they still wanted to make their money. So that's kind of why they tunneled out this tree. And as you can see, a car or a carriage, you know, isn't going to fit through there anymore. And that's because the tree is growing in on itself, it's healing. And, you know, maybe in another how many 100 years, it will be completely shut.
Well, I've hoped you enjoyed this little tour around Mariposa Grove. I would like to thank Ranger Lauren for showing us around. If you're ever in Yosemite, I highly recommend coming out and exploring these giant trees. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.